And I have it as Kenya Sloan,
Oh, okay,
Sloan.
great. Well, people are trickling in.
Oh, good.
So let's have them put their info in the chat. Well,
Okay. Hey, good afternoon, folks. Thanks for the getting here before time. Appreciate it. If you would be so kind as to use the chat function and put your name, where you're from, and just briefly what you're trying to accomplish with your business or what type of business it is, that would help us to direct our conversation. And I'll repeat that a couple of times for people that arrive after you.
so Joni here from Charlotte wants to start a nonprofit. Welcome, Joni. I hope that's pronouncing your name correctly. All right, people, don't be shy. We're looking forward to knowing who's out there since we can't see you. Please share a little bit about yourself in the chat. And Jason is here from North Carolina. He's going to start working for a company, but looking at advantages of using an LLC structure. Welcome, folks. People keep coming in to the webinar. That's great.
Yeah, before we get started, if you just joined us, if you could use the chat function and put your name, where in North Carolina you're from, and what business you're looking to start up, that would help us during
I
today's
love this
presentation.
stuff. Steph from Charlotte is wanting to start a comic book coffee shop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're going to start with a pop-up. That's great. What a fun idea. We've got one more minute. It's 12:29, just hitting 12:30 as we speak.
All righty. If anyone's keeping score, we're up to 15 people attending, which is, no, I'm sorry, I spoke too quickly, 17.
And Carlton from Charlotte is looking to start a logistics company involving moving IT equipment. And Rasheen, data management counseling is their business. And we've got, oh, Jason lives in Fayetteville. Well, love to have people from all over North Carolina and beyond. Oftentimes we get people from other states as well.
Oh, I
And
didn't even realize that. Okay.
Dustin is here. He's from NC, wants to start a for-profit company focused on car enthusiasts. Neat.
Thank you to everyone who's chatting. If nothing else, it helps us. And secondly, it'll help you if you have questions as we go along. The chat function will be integral to getting your questions answered, or at least we will see them and hope be able to respond to them.
Yeah. And we've got Durham, Kim from Durham, and Denise from Chapel Hill. So we're getting a good cross-section of the state here. We just need somebody from the mountains. And Dustin is Cornelius. I live in Denver, so we're just on opposite sides of Lake Norman.
We've had a few people in the last minute. If you could use the chat function and include your name, where you're from, the city that is, and the type of business you're looking to start or get assistance with.
And Shelley from Milwaukee, which is a big coincidence since I grew up in Milwaukee.
Oh, wow.
Actually, yeah, grew up in it, went to college there, went to UWM. So I was just up there in March. It has gotten much cooler there since I grew up. Now, this one, Mulgayo, I probably butchered that name. It's incredible. Maybe you can phonetically spell it for us. From Fayetteville, so we've got two from Fayetteville. And Shelley from Milwaukee is running a leadership coaching and consulting business. Excellent. Well, you should talk to the SCORE Milwaukee office and maybe you can be a mentor there. And Denise wants to start a medical billing and credentialing translation service. Sounds like definitely filling in a need and a niche.
We're up to 25 people and we're about 2 or 3 minutes beyond the start time, so 26 people. If you just joined in, thank you. We're using the chat function to include your name, what city you're from, and the type of business you're looking to start or get support for. And with that, we're gonna probably get started so we hit our deadline, and use the chat function, please, throughout this session so that if you have specific questions, we can address them. Welcome to Simple Steps, and that's really what they are. This is really the old 20,000-foot overview for people looking to get into business. You'll see at the bottom there's that lovely new logo from Truist. We really have to thank them for helping us make this class available to you, and thanks to everybody who's on this call. Hopefully you're indoors and not braving this 90-degree weather wherever you are. And you should all be able to see the screen. So a little plug for SCORE. SCORE, it's a nonprofit organization. It's the nation's largest network of volunteer expert business mentors. It's a really good service, and thank you for either finding us or stumbling upon it or being referred to it. But you'll find that SCORE can really be a big assist. In fact, you'll hear that throughout this that it actually helped me getting launched in my own business all those years ago. But it offers seminars and workshops and mentoring. And the neat thing is it's free. We will never ask you for money. It's not why we exist. It will be free and confidential. Anything you tell your mentor stays that way. And there's a really powerful website, charlotte.score.org. I continue to do searches on there and continue to find treasures. So you'll actually find the whole thing on business plans and pre-recorded video seminars and such. Anyway, my name is Larry Wright, Wright. My wife found Mr. Wright 39 years ago. and she's regretting it ever since. Um, I am a 65-year-old guy who was started at the age of 8 doing my first paper route, where I was so stupid that I bought the newspapers at retail and sold them at retail, and had my parents race after me and said, "Please give him tips. He's not making any money." But anyway, I have worked nonstop since then. I guess I should get beyond the paper route part, but literally nonstop through there. After college, I decided to um, get on the corporate ladder and see how far I could climb. And I pretty much climbed beyond where I should have. But whatever. If they keep on promoting you, go for it. I got to the point where I was with the Vanguard Group, the universe's largest mutual fund company, and was relocated from the Philadelphia area to Charlotte, and was asked to start a phone unit down there. And in 3 years, we hired 1,200 people. And I realized, being the number 2 person in that venture, that I really didn't have any great skills, but I was really darn good at leading people and in many ways motivating people. And if nothing else, making people laugh. Um, they told me to come back to Philadelphia after 3 years. And I said, there's no way I'm moving back to Philadelphia. So um, I realized that Charlotte at that time didn't have any Dunkin' Donuts, and that was a big part of my growing up. So I decided to use my general leadership skills and open the first Dunkin' Donuts shop, basically with no experience, and just decided to work 90, 100 hours a week. And that led to eventually, over 20 years, 13 stores, with sales of 11 million and 185 people. Sold those stores a couple years ago and bought a couple of investment property, 5-bedroom homes on the coast of North Carolina, which is where I'm speaking to you now. So in 5 minutes, if this seminar doesn't go well, I could be in the ocean. So hopefully you'll stay with us, and then maybe I can take a dip. But that's me. That's the shortened version. And Barbara, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll get going.
Sure, I'm Barbara Brill. I have been a SCORE mentor for almost 6 years now. Have lived in Charlotte for about 10. As Shelley knows, I grew up in Milwaukee, and then from there got into the radio business and was in the radio business, media business, running stations in different large markets in the US and also in Europe. After coming back to the States in 2010, decided I wanted to go into the nonprofit, and was executive director for Leadership Asheville up in Asheville for a few years, then joined Children's Miracle Network Hospitals as VP of fundraising for media, both radio and TV stations across the country, and then retired in 2017. So currently the chapter president for the SCORE Charlotte chapter, and definitely want to encourage everybody, if you don't already have a SCORE mentor, please go to score.org, and you put in your zip code, and you can fill out a form to request a mentor, and it will be forwarded to the chapter closest to you. We have over 10,000, really over 11,000 now mentors, coast to coast, and we have chapters in virtually every city across the country. So whether you're looking for a mentor or you have a friend or family member, please encourage them to check out SCORE. And the website has a tremendous amount of templates and resources and webinars for you to download and watch, and they're all free on your own time. So again, check out score.org. And that's me.
Great, thank you. And the third member of our team is Kenya Sloan, who represents the library, and he will show you the resources that are available to you. Again, like everything we're talking about, at no cost, really just to help you get going. So speaking of getting going, are you ready? Are you ready for some football? let's see. What you will learn today, what you will learn, the first thing is that I do not read bullet points from PowerPoint presentations. If you know anybody that does that, slap them. But today's agenda will cover these topics in this order. And we ask you very graciously to use the chat for any questions, any clarifications, and we will get to them throughout the seminar. The benefit, I think the main benefit of this particular workshop is really getting your mindset. And by the end of the seminar, I think you'll end up in one of three baskets. One is, hey, I'm ready, I'm beyond ready. Let's get this thing going. Give me a mentor. Full speed ahead. Second one is, holy crap, there's a lot more to this than I ever imagined. I still want to do this, but let me take my time. Maybe I should go to the websites. Maybe I should get some more resources. Maybe I should get a mentor just to talk through these things. But you just want to kind of hit the brakes a little bit. And the third faction, which I hope there's not many, but hey, if we do it, it's a public service, and this is not for me. And it's better to know this is not for me before you get into it and commit your life and your life savings. So I think it's really time well spent for aspiring entrepreneurs. It's the opportunity to test the feasibility of your idea and then begin to make the critical first steps. So to me, leaving this session, I hope you get into one of those three buckets and decide how you move forward after that. There are many myths about being a business owner, or that word entrepreneur. Let's just go through these. Number one, you won't have to work hard or put in such long hours. I remember my corporate life, I pretty much worked Monday through Friday. Every once in a while, I'd come in on the weekends just to catch up. But as the franchisee, especially with my first store, when I was the manager, the franchisee, the part-time baker, the drive-through order taker, the sandwich maker, the blah, 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 blah. I literally, for those first 2 or 3 years, probably averaged more than 100 hours a week. And it was 24/7, 364. We did give ourselves Christmas only off. The problem with that is we had to get in that night to start baking for the next morning. So even Christmas, we had to work. I don't regret a thing, but you would be in that third bucket of saying this is not for me if you don't want to work long hours. If you think this is easy street, you might have another thing coming to you. Second myth is that your service or product is unique. There's no competition. Well, maybe you got a wonderful product or service, and if you do, if it's that cool, within minutes, you'll probably have competition that will figure out a way to do it faster, smarter, cheaper. There's always competition, and no matter what you invent, you should be on the lookout for what your competition is doing, and then what you should be doing to be a step ahead of your competition. Third myth, you don't have to pay taxes. Well, that's not true. You will pay taxes, just a matter of how. With an LLC, for instance, they bubble up into your personal taxes. What a surprise! What a pleasant and unpleasant surprise when we sold our big business, and the tax return I had to pay that year. But I think the bottom line is always keep really buttoned up, get get a good accountant. You want to pay as little taxes as possible, but you want to do it ethically. Fourth myth, you won't have a boss. Well, technically, perhaps you won't have a boss, but otherwise, I say, ha, you will always have a boss. I think if you treat your business correctly, your clients will be your boss, your customers will be your boss, your local, state, and federal governments will be your boss. Your spouse will always be your boss, right there. Um, you know, I think it just depends on how you approach the business. I always approached it as the inverted triangle, where I was at the bottom tip and everything else was above, and I really held myself responsible for um, the business and everybody I viewed as my boss. Um, and the fifth myth, excuse me, is you get to do whatever you want. Well, you really don't unless you don't want to be in business for long. It's a tremendous responsibility, not just because you will probably be putting your personal finances at risk, but if you get to the point, or when you get to the point of having employees, how I viewed it is I controlled their ability to pay for their food and their housing. And if you have that kind of philosophy, first of all, I think it will repay itself in spades. But secondly, you know that you'll do whatever is in their best interests. So there's a lot of myths. The bottom line is it's hard work, but man, is it worth it, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Interesting stat. So let's say you get past this whole simple steps stuff and you launch your business, you'll be in that crowd, ideally of 76%, that after 2 years are successful. Wow. You probably thought that was the other way around. Everyone talks about business failures and sees businesses that don't make it. But this shows from, our government statistics show that 76% do make it. So good for us, right? Well, here's the downside of that. After 5 years, it becomes more of a 50-50 proposition. And there's a lot of chatter about why that will be. The chatter includes perhaps lack of planning. Perhaps you went into the business insufficiently capitalized, meaning not enough money. Um, Maybe you made money and you decided to spend it rather than reinvest it. Maybe you never took um, advantage or paid attention to your business model pricing, which is incredibly important. But I think perhaps the number one reason is those first 2 years, you're going to be fueled. You're going to be excited. Every day is going to be an adventure. Those next 3 years, holy crap, you're just going to be tired. If you're working 100-hour weeks and you don't see any chance of improvement, all of a sudden you're going to be slipping. You're not going to be as buttoned up, and you're not going to be as successful. So the key to have that whole conversation is to build in the support networks, to offload some of that work, and to keep yourself as refreshed as possible so that you're in that blue half of the 50-50. So based on that, what do you bring to the party? What should you bring to the party that will improve your chances of being successful? In no particular order. If you're skilled in that field, of course. If you have a strong work ethic, we've just gone through that. Time management is something that you'll see later on how many hats a business owner will wear. So that's going to be critical to multitask, to take advice from others. And you can't overestimate the capital. I get as a mentor, I get numerous clients, probably have worked with 70 different clients in the last 2 years. And I try to get into capital and finances as much as possible in the first conversation I have with them. It feels a little awkward, although it shouldn't, but there's no reason to wait until the third or fourth phone call to talk about finances. Um, because if you don't have the ability to, if you don't have the capital or the ability to get the capital, and your business invariably will need money, then you need to go back to the drawing board or figure out a way to get that money. And it's doable. It just requires it will require work. So, essential considerations for you. To me, it comes back to the financials. How much do you need to launch your business? I'll give you my example. And pardon me for doing this, but throughout this, I'll give you examples of clients I have with anonymity and of my own experience. Well, the first Dunkin' Donuts, it was going to cost about $620,000. So I was able to scrounge up about $130,000, and I got a loan for $500,000, and then said a lot of prayers. But it took a really good business plan. It took the backing of a franchise to really understand what it is that would be required for the facilities, for the equipment, for the leasehold improvements, for the attorney, for the accountant, for the inventory, to get the payroll started. And these are all things that a mentor can help you with. And a good mentor, will always tell you, figure all that out and then add 15 or 20% for contingency, because it's always going to be more. But again, please, 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 don't let these things stop you. Just let you be aware of them so that you start off on the right simple step. And with your financial considerations, what you want to do is think about how much does it cost to keep you in your essential living, your housing, your food, your bare minimum of clothing. That doesn't mean going out in bikinis. That means, at a reasonable cost, how much do you need in terms of food, shelter, and clothing? And then think about, where could you possibly cut back? How could you cut back? Then how much money do you owe? How much money do you have in savings? If you have money in savings and it's a decent amount, that is so critical. But the credit worthiness of you with your debt and your savings is going to be giving you a really good footing in terms of getting financing. And then you should be looking at, am I confident that in the first 6 to 12 months, I can at least be out of losing money. I can at least be starting with some profitability. Can I at least be turning a profit? And do you have enough money to cover the first 6 to 12 months where probably you're not bringing in a penny? I've worked with some clients who they've agreed to do all their work and continue working, or at least do something else to bring in money while they're getting their business started, and then they just start a little slower. I've had people say, I'm going to wait a little bit until I have more savings, which is very difficult. But these are the hard conversations that you need to have with yourself, ideally with your mentor and those around you, before you get too far along with your idea. So with that we have gone through that first section. This is where you see the lovely face of Barbara Brill, and you see me take a huge gulp of water, and then we get to the next section.
Excellent, Larry. And everybody, as you've gotten to know Larry just in this first section, you can tell what tremendous experience he brings to the conversation today. So I definitely want to encourage you to start putting questions either in the chat or the Q&A. I'll be keeping an eye on them. We'll probably handle more of the questions at the end, so don't be frustrated if your question doesn't get answered as we're going through it, but we'll get through those towards the end of the presentation. So back to you, Larry.
All right, I am hydrated. So this section goes through the options. It's not as cut and dry as perhaps the average bear would think. So some of these may be out of the box thinking, some of these might be no duh. But this is what most people think about when they're starting a new business, and it's called starting a new business. How's that for Captain Obvious? So the advantages are the light bulb goes off and you say, wow, I want to be in charge of filing medical claims. I believe that was one of the people that's on this call. The cool thing about that is you've just decided to be pregnant, and in whatever amount of months or years, you're going to have a baby. And you're going to be able to name this baby. You're going to be able to bring him up the way, or her up the way you want. You're going to be able to teach them the way they want. It's really cool. If I had an idea, there's no way I would have become a franchisee. I would have started my own idea. But knowing that, the disadvantages are you're starting from scratch. No one's going to know you. You're taking a bigger risk because it's an unknown, unproven commodity. And the people who you'd go for lending are going to probably look at you a little bit askance and say, why should we believe you? But you can convince them. I'll give you my one client example, a young lady who decided to use an interesting vegetation. Let me put it that way. It's legal, believe me. It's not legal in some states. It's legal to create a beverage product. And for some reason, the folks at SCORE decide to assign this client to me, even though I had zero zero bottled beverage business. But it was great for me because I've learned a ton of things. But what I learned from dealing with this person is you have to think about, from her standpoint, she had to figure out the formulation, the regulations, how to get it bottled, who's going to distribute it, how to get the shelf space, how to meet the licensing requirements. And she got hooked up with a mentor who had no clue. So the cool thing about that is SCORE has a thing called co-mentoring, which means when your assigned mentor doesn't know squat, they bring in someone who does. So there was nobody in North Carolina that I found out that I felt had sufficient bottling beverage. And I found the co-mentor needle in a haystack from Arizona, 3-hour time difference. And he was an absolute bottling beverage. He knew everything. And we were able to get this young lady into business with me just kind of standing around the periphery. Every once in a while, she had a question that I could answer. But all this to say, if you have your own idea, it's going to require a lot of work, a lot of things that perhaps other ways to approach a new business venture will not. Which leads me to the second one that less people think about, and that's buying an existing business. One option is there's a company called Biz Buy Sell, Bizbysell, Biz Buy Sell. There's others um, where businesses that are looking to be sold um, are out there, and just like a house, you can purchase a business. Um, are there advantages? Heck yes. Uh, the people that started this business or own this business have built-in customers. They have a built-in name and reputation. You can review their financials, and when you get your accountant and attorney involved, you can, make sure that they're telling the truth. Um, but B, you can probably kind of bank on that or count on that. The lender will look at that and say, oh, okay, well, you're buying a business that looks like it should cash flow. The disadvantages, if you deal with somebody who might be a little unscrupulous, they could hide some issues. There could be lawsuits. There could be other things that are hidden in the weeds that they don't want you to know about. There could be reputation issues. It could be that the business itself is kind of becoming obsolete or going in the wrong direction, if you will. Maybe you're buying a business with 10 employees and 8 of them hate the existing owners, or they're going to hate you. So there's some real advantages, and there's some maybe equal amount of disadvantages. I had a client, a young guy, who about 2 years removed from college, and all he wanted to do was to buy out an international broker. And once again, I was assigned the case because you know me, I'm the international broker client mentor, which I'm not. So I got 3 different co-mentors in 3 different sessions, and um, one was an expert in international brokers. One was somebody that was just really well connected in the area, and one was just a very successful business person. And when we got to the last session, there's some aha that the last person, the last co-mentor said that if you have to have at least one of the 3 C's to be successful in this field or in any field where you're going to buy a business. One is capital, money. The second C is contacts, people that you can call on. And C3, the third C, is capabilities, meaning you know how to run this thing. You've done it backwards and forwards. And you, sir, the person that we were talking to, have none of the C's. So in continuing to work with the client, he agreed to go work for an international broker. He quit his job and moved to the West Coast, started working with an international broker, and this will give him at least the contacts and capabilities. So, did we help this person? Yeah, I think so. I think he's on the path, and um, that made me feel good. The third one, buying a franchise. That to me, um, I knew that if I could execute with the presence of Duncan in the Northeast and the success of Duncan in the years prior to me of Florida, that it would just be a matter of time before we could connect those dots and that Charlotte would be successful. Little did I know that it would take me probably 4 years, 5 years to take home any money. But the good news is every year the patterns showed increasing less losses. The trend line was better. But with a franchise, you're really not your own business. The employees report to you. You are their boss. They're your problem. They're your biggest asset. But the franchisor really tells you how to run that business. If you're not a good franchisee, they will fire you. They will get you out of business. We actually got three of our businesses, three of our locations, because the previous franchisees were booted out of the system. Every dollar we collected, 10.9 cents of that went to both franchise fees and marketing fees. But it was worth it, because if I had put out a sign that said Larry's Donuts, I probably would have turned the open sign on the first day, and we probably wouldn't have had any guests. As it was, we were swamped, which allowed me to get to multiple stores. So if you're looking to get in business, and once again, you don't have that light bulb, you don't have that idea, think about franchising. I would consider it. I would consider that and buy an existing business. And if you really want kind of that support system beneath you, with you, for the training and professional guidance, franchising can be a really good way to go. A home-based business, it's easy, it's low cost. I think of home-based businesses more as, hairstyling, manicuring, something where you can have the home base in a spare bedroom, and be a power washer. You get the idea. It's there's less overhead. Your scheduling is easy. You can bring in people from anywhere. The disadvantages, I suppose, are there's going to be a cap on your growth, I would imagine, and you're going to feel a little isolated. You might also be distracted. I think the pandemic has maybe gotten us past that part, but the financing might also be a bit of you might find that to be a little bit more problematic. The next one, I'm actually going to ask Barbara to get back on the screen and talk about briefly. It's a nonprofit, and sorry to put you onto that, but
Oh, that's okay.
Barbara, I just heard you say the nonprofit world was something you're comfortable with.
Certainly, and with a nonprofit, and I think there were two people, at least two, that I recall in looking at the chat box at the beginning, that were interested in starting nonprofits. And we have a couple webinars on that that I would also recommend. One is called Starting a Nonprofit, and it's on the score.org/Charlotte website under local recorded webinars. But first of all, nonprofit, sometimes people, are wondering, geez, my business idea, I want to do it as a nonprofit, or should I do it as a for-profit? Keeping in mind that a nonprofit is, you don't own that. When you start a nonprofit, it requires having a board as the founder and executive director. You report to the board, and if you down the road are going to leave the nonprofit, you leave the nonprofit continues. So that's one thing to think about, which is different than obviously a business that you own that you can sell. Oftentimes there's wonderful, kind of a mission or a purpose that people have deep in their heart that is driving them to start this, nonprofit, which is fabulous. But like any other business, you need to look and see who is doing a similar or exact same kind of service out there. And it may be smarter to talk to, that nonprofit or multiple ones, and see how maybe you can align your concept, or your concept can be an add-on service that they provide. So oftentimes we do recommend that people look to maybe take their idea and merge it with an existing nonprofit. The funding for a nonprofit, just like a for-profit business where it usually takes 2 years of running a business before you're going to qualify for a loan. Similar, yes, there are grants out there for nonprofits, but those granting, whether it's a big corporate business like, Duke or any of the banks, or other, private foundations, they're looking for impact. So they give grants to nonprofits that can show a measurable impact versus startups. I'm sure there are some startup nonprofits out there that get some seed money, but that is far and few between. So, don't go into it with the idea, or recommend, not going into it with the idea that, it's going to be all funded through grants. Yes, you pay salaries to employees, absolutely, or 1099s, following the legal construct of that. Board members are not paid. And in fact, they should be contributing to the nonprofit. The disadvantages, we're here must focus on, different educational or charitable purposes. And there are multiple structures of nonprofits. The 501(c)(3) is the most common, but there's also different ones. I can't name them off the top of my head right at the moment, but I believe like, which one of the shoes and the Bombas socks may fall into one of those categories too. Again, all profits remain within the organization. You can't sell your nonprofit. And you have to apply and for the 501(c)(3) or whatever status your nonprofit is going to take for its sales tax exemption. And keeping in mind, one of my favorite sentences I ever heard from a gentleman who ran a Habitat for Humanity, and we were working on a class for potential board members, and because people need to learn how to also sit on the board of a nonprofit. But it's a nonprofit is a tax status. It's not a business plan. So everything that you're hearing from Larry here today on, the things you need to think about in starting a business, you need to understand what is the market, what is the need, what is the competition, where am I, going to be getting the people that I want to have work with me in this nonprofit. So, no profit, no nonprofit. A nonprofit needs money in order to function. So I think that's kind of the long and short of a nonprofit overview. But again, I encourage you to go to the score.org/Charlotte website. We have a partner, Cheryl Wright, out of Atlanta, who does webinars with us on nonprofits. And we have a number of her webinars up there.
That was really helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
And finally, the online business. I cannot tell you the number of clients that I've been assigned and working with that have started online businesses. Clearly, this is something that is quite appealing to many people. You basically start a website, and people are so accustomed these days to going on, clicking and buying, and you can reach basically anybody 24/7 doing business. It's funny. I asked Barbara to do that nonprofit thing for two reasons. One is she has the expertise, and to me, nonprofit is an oxymoron. Nonprofit is like, what? Nonprofit. The second one is I got a Airbnb reservation for next summer. I had to accept it. So I was doing business because I have an online business through Verbo and Airbnb. So I'm sorry if I found that humorous. and I'm laughing, so maybe someone else can laugh with me. But online businesses are a great way to get started. There's really virtually no barriers to get started, but there are tons of competitors. And how do you get noticed? How do you get near the top of in your searches? Um, how do you get how do you get people to find you? How do you get people to trust you? Um, I'm not sure if I believe the second disadvantage is listed there. But it is nameless, faceless, so there's not that face-to-face interaction. Um, and I have noticed with the Airbnb and Verbo business, I'm now making a point of doing just a brief 2-minute knock on the door, introduce myself, and that makes a world of difference. I just started that this summer. Um, but everything is done through this nameless, faceless web page, and how good that is, and how you convert, and how strong a business case you make is going to be critical, and how you market people to get to that online business is going to be essential. So those are the various ways of getting into business. Like before, I'll take a brief pause. Any questions, any clarifications? There might be some with the chat. And I'll ask
Yeah.
one.
Um, Here's one, Larry. I am interested in an online business. Can you please share how I can get a business mentor to share my ideas and thoughts?
Yeah. Well, you're probably better equipped than I am.
I can do that.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Go,
ahead.
go to score.org, or depending on where you live, if you live in the Charlotte area, you can do score.org/Charlotte. And there is a button there that says request a mentor. And you fill that in, and I just recommend that you be as kind of specific as you can. And then our highly qualified intake team and others at other chapters take a look at that, and then we try and match you up with the mentor that most closely, fits your needs. Our mentors, across the country, but certainly in the Charlotte chapter, come from all different walks of life, with different business experiences. So you could get someone who has experience in the area that you're looking at, and you may not, but the bottom line, and basically looking at how to start a business, anybody who's been in business can help you. So, because it's, the pieces of the puzzle are largely the same. There's outline pieces that are going to certainly be industry specific, but a mentor can help you talk through your thoughts.
Great. If there's nothing else, we'll go on to the components of owning a business.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I wish somebody I wish I had taken simple steps. I did have a mentor before I got into the Dunkin' business, but I was led to doing a business plan, which was incredibly important. But this to me is eye-opening. I realized from my corporate background that all these departments, if you will, exist. I didn't quite ever figure out that when I opened my own business that I would be every department. So yeah, I and also you will be responsible for all these things, all the green, blue, and yellow. And the question is, will you be comfortable wearing all these hats? Will you have time to work all these hats? Do you enjoy working these hats? Do you have the skill to work these hats? Which are your weaker ones that you wish would go away or that you could delegate? Maybe even if you think 3 to 5 years down the road, which ones will I be staffing and not doing or just overseeing, and maybe that's where you offload. But to me, I found that I had an incredibly good accountant who was a personal friend from the age of 8. And the rest of the stuff, holy crap, I just put my nose down and right next to that grindstone. So you'll want to think about how many of those hats you'll want to wear from the beginning, and then how many you can and will offload over time. The some of these things are fairly obvious, but with marketing, you're going to want to be thinking about how you're going to market your business. To me, back when I was actually in charge of marketing in my first corporate job in an ad agency, um, I was easy for me. I had the options of billboard, newspaper, radio, TV, and that was about it. Now you can multiply that by about 1,000, and the options are virtually limitless as to how you can market your business. I would suggest strongly that you, I always get to, typically 3, no more than 5 is kind of my rule of thumb. And that is figure out what's going to be most powerful. Don't try to do everything, but if you're going to be mostly driven through the web, then find 3 to 5 really powerful search engines. If you're going to be reliant mostly on outdoor, um, or you get the idea. Just pick your poison and don't scatter yourself and spread yourself around so thinly that you can't create an impression. I always think that this slide should go before marketing, because to me, branding comes before marketing. So Larry, why don't you change the order? Well, I guess I never asked Barbara's permission. Anyway, branding is really the holy grail. If you're creating your own business, or if you're buying an established business that you want to kind of rebrand, you're going to want to pick a name, you're going to want to pick colors, you're going to want to pick fonts that will create your USP, or your unique selling proposition, what makes you special. And then that should be what your business connotes. So, the easy one, those goofy golden arches. What's that? Well, that's McDonald's. There's a million of them. You want your business to smack someone in the face and say, that's who I am. That's what I've birthed. I don't think you want to get too cutesy or clever, although that probably has worked. But you're going to want to create something that will create an impression with your prospective client or customer. Sales. Some businesses rely more on official sales, the sales that I never felt comfortable doing, versus just opening the door and having people come in and buy things. But if you're in the business of selling your business, you're going to want to grow your database. You're going to want to collect names and referrals, and be in clubs or places where people are looking for your services potentially. You're going to want to figure out your ordering process, and most importantly, probably is close those deals. It's great to have a lot of prospects, but if you can't get that to be money, what's the point? The question then would be, do you have the skills? Are there weaknesses in your arsenal? I'll give you an example. I thought it was so important before I got started in the franchise business to get my arms around the financials so that I would know every hour, every day, every week how we're doing. That I went to the local community college, CPCC, and took a QuickBooks course. And I decided to be my own bookkeeper. And I was my own bookkeeper for longer than I should have. Um, but man, did I know the numbers. And it wasn't hard. But then I could provide all that stuff to the accountant who would take care of all the taxes and clean up all my messes at the end. Um, if there are things that you don't have the skills, who can do them? And if you're a new business, you don't want to be necessarily spending money that you may not have. So, do you have friends? Do you have people in other businesses that maybe you can barter? Um, do you have dirty little secrets on your friend that that will allow them to work for free? I know people that have friends that can do websites or that can do the bookkeeping. I wish I had those friends. Um, but you're going to really want to try to figure out early on if you have the skills, if you enjoy the skill, if you need to get rid of the skill, but somehow or other, make sure that gets done. Even if you deplore that part of that function, I would give you a big note of caution. Know how to do everything. Know everything in your business. I actually knew how to make ice cream cakes for our Baskin Robbins business. So if our cake decorator decided to get hoity-toity or her daughter got sick, I would actually do ice cream cakes. And boy, they were ugly, but we got our $29.99 regardless. The other critical factors, location, location, location. Typically that meant, being on the corner of Main and Main so that nobody could miss you, that all the traffic would come by. That was really important in our first Dunkin' location in Indian Trail. It was right on Route 74, and there were like 90,000 cars every day coming through. And then a couple years later, a Walmart instantly appeared behind us. And so, luck is a lot to do with business success. But location, location, location can also be your web page. Where does that show up in your searches? You just want to be where people are. You want the visibility, you want the convenience, and very importantly, you want the right people to be visiting you at that location, location, location. It's kind of stupid to be offering geriatric products and the only people that pass you are kids. So, just think about that, because how you set yourself up for business, those first couple of years are going to set you up for success or the opposite. I cannot understate, nor would I try to understate the criticality of price. I think that price is the strongest signal you can send to your customer of your product or services, perceived value, and the position it holds in the market. If you're going to be the low-cost leader, are people going to perceive you as cheap? You're not worth it. There's that home service thing that offers the first house cleaning thing for $19. Well, first of all, that's bullcrap. They probably do, but that's just a catch and what's that expression? Where they get you to bite and then they hook you in. Well, anyway, price is something that you're going to want to think long and hard about, and price maybe should be also considered value because people don't mind spending more if it's worth more. And here I'll give you an example of how I went into the investment property business. Our first home that we bought In my opinion, it was okay. If people were looking for a 5 bedroom that was easy to get to the ocean and had a pool in its backyard, um, it was okay. But I didn't have any experience. When I did searches for other 5 bedroom, 5 baths with pools, I realized that they all looked a little bit nicer, a little more kept up. So with pricing, before I got started, and then every single month thereafter, I went in and did a Verbo and Airbnb um, competitive analysis. And to get the business going, I just made the decision by far be um, the lowest price for comparable homes. That did two things. One, it got me comfortable with the business, and it got me a lot of 5-star ratings. Because if someone got a week in the middle of the summer for $1,200, um, they were going to give it 5 stars pretty much regardless. Um, so I was able to get the stars. Um, I was then able to reinvest about $80,000 into a whole entire interior renovation. And then I moved myself up from the bottom to the bottom of the middle third, so that if the range was 3,000 a week to 9,000 a week, I was probably able to charge 5,500. You get the idea. The idea is that you should be very aware. You should be aware that that's going to either create business, which would then snowball into others. It'll get you trial. Um, or it's going to prohibit people from ever once trying your service. I have a client who is in executive leadership who's wonderful. She's a great person, but I had to convince her to give the first couple sessions as free trials because she was getting tons of leads, but in her first 18 months, she had 2 clients. So she said she did trials, and that helped her get conversion into actual clients. So there's other critical factors, and this is the last slide on this section. And this is a never-ending battle. It's not something, clearly you're probably going to spend more time on it when you launch your business or are preparing to launch your business, but looking at your competitors, I always viewed my Dunkin' competitors as Starbucks and McDonald's once they really got the beverage line going. My guests for the first decade viewed Krispy Kreme as my competitor. So it was interesting. I had to look at a few different mindsets of people, and Panera Bread, obviously. But you're going to want to look at how you're positioned, how you're priced, the services you provide. You need to extend that. What are they doing better? And then you're going to realize that when you start doing things that scare them or realize that you're taking their share, they're going to start stealing your ideas. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery until it hurts your bottom line. So don't be afraid to imitate them as well. You can feel free to just figure out what they're doing that you wish you were doing, and then do it in a different way, do it in the same way. You never want to play around with any kind of trademark or confidential things, but always keep relevant with what's going on in the marketplace. Always keep yourself one step ahead of the competition, if at all possible. And then be nimble, because Lord knows when the pandemic hit, I had no idea until I mean, if it was just me alone, I would never would have been as quick to get DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats and to do things like that to just continue to boost the business while the walk-in retail basically flamed out. It's dynamic, it's fun, it can be frightening if you're not at your A game all the time. So we're going to get to making it legal in a second. As usual, I'm going to take a little pause while Barbara checks for any questions or comments on what I've been saying.
Sure, and I'm having a little sneeze fest here, so um, right now I am not seeing any questions that we haven't addressed. So again, folks, if you have some, please pop them in the chat. And Larry, we have about 5 minutes before the library.
Excellent. Kenya, you're on notice. I'll go through this next section in 5. Making it legal. I think that this section is probably I'll keep it the briefest. Because truly, you're going to want an accountant and an attorney to be more helpful to you than a simple step seminar or even your mentor. But when you go into business, you're going to officially decide how you're going into business. Now that can change over time. Here's the options. Here's most of the options. Goes from the simplest to the most complex. And if you're doing a business where you're not going to have any employees, there's really no physical risk to you. It's just you. If you really don't care about the liability or the taxation, you might want to just decide a sole proprietorship or a partnership and just leave it at that. There's no harm in that. It
Did you
why
freeze,
did I go
Larry?
ahead? I didn't need to. No. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. I apologize. I went ahead and just ignore this slide. I'm back on. It's not that much more difficult to start an LLC. When we were at the height of our franchise business, I was actually overseeing 17 LLCs. And it took me about 3 hours every year to keep us in compliance. Real simple. It's a North Carolina licensee. You do your EIN or employer identification number. By the way, these sessions are recorded. You get the recording. You get the slides. I speak fast. I realize that, but you can consider an LLC, which will give you a
Larry, did you
another
freeze?
try to shield your personal assets.
Larry, if you can hear me, you're breaking up. Larry, Larry, Larry?
I'm here. Hello, you
Okay,
go to Ken.
it seems like we've lost Larry. He'll probably come back in. Can you hear me?
Excuse me. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Um, great. Yeah, what we'll
We're
do
gonna go to Kenya.
is
Right.
we'll jump into the library. The library system in North Carolina has some tremendous resources around market research, and they also have two two divisions, if you will, one for profits, and then they also have a nonprofit section. Today, Kenya is going to walk you through some of the different market research products that the library has. Again, the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library, because it's so big, has three tremendous software products or data products. And the North Carolina library system has two of the three. So no matter where, if you're, living in Durham, Chapel Hill, Fayetteville, you can still go to your local library and ask them, for some help in how to scout around, how to manage the market research tools that they have. But we're fortunate today. We have Kenya who is going to walk us through a couple of great examples. On to you, Kenya.
All righty. Hello, everyone. Uh, my name is Kenya, and I am an adult services librarian with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Public Library. And I want to thank SCORE for allowing us to uh, to present here today. And I just want to share a few resources that the Charlotte Mecklenburg Public Library has to assist anyone who is looking to start a business. So, with that said, I will go ahead and share my screen. Share. And just go ahead and slideshow from the beginning. And yeah, this is why you should it's titled why you should have a library card if you are in business. Let me go ahead and move this out of the way. Uh Basically it's like does your business plan have any gaps? The library has resources with data you can use to fill those gaps, and you've already paid for it. So yeah, basically if you have a library card, all of our resources are uh pretty much free to you. And what they mean by you've already paid for it is that if you live in Mecklenburg County, uh you get a library card for free, as we are funded by Mecklenburg County property taxes. So if you live in Mecklenburg County, just stop by any local library and obtain a library card. Uh, if you don't live in Mecklenburg County and you still would like to get a library card, um, unfortunately, there is a fee that's attached to that. It's $45 every year, but that is good for your entire household. So if you live outside of Mecklenburg County, you're still able to get a library card. It's just a $45 annual fee, and that is good for your entire household. Uh, let's look at a few examples, and here's an overview of what we're working towards. Uh, let's say if I were to open a pet supply store, I would need data. So basically, do you have a pet? And this is a market survey. 70% of households in the US have at least one pet. This is information collected from using ABI Inform ProQuest, which contains a host of resources of all your business research needs. Journal articles, trade publications, market research reports, dissertations, and working papers are all available. Uh, there are 269 businesses in Mecklenburg County already selling pet supplies, and this data is pulled from Data Axle Reference Solutions, which is one of the world's largest databases of industry and company information with contact information, sales and employee figures, searchable by yellow page heading, SIC code, geography, and more. This resource was formerly known as Reference USA. And right here, this is even with 269 competitors, there are areas without a pet supply store. This right here shows with data axle. This shows areas in Mecklenburg County where pet supplies are sold. And here, the pet supply store should be located near where people live who spend money on their pets. This right here is Simply Analytics, which is another resource that the library has. Simply Analytics is a web-based mapping application that enables you to quickly create professional quality thematic maps and reports using powerful demographic business and marketing data. And in 2022, people in Mecklenburg County spent almost $500 million on pets. These folks spent almost $35 million on pet services, and this was pulled from Simply Analytics. And what this means is $500 million in sales. You have 269 competitors, evenly spread. That's 1.8 million per competitor. I can get a list of businesses nearby to invite to the grand opening. 70% of households equals 297,000 households in Mecklenburg County and 1,100 households per competitor. When using Simply Analytics and Data Axle, it's possible to narrow down to specific areas of town with high spending and low competition. I do know with Simply Analytics, there is a limitation in that you have to search one parameter at a time. So if you wanted to search like let's say how many households have pets and how many have spent on pets, something like that, you do one at a time. You wouldn't be able to do them both at a time just because the results won't differentiate, like the map coloring won't differentiate. So you have to do searches one at a time. But for likely areas and more details about age groups, education, race, language, and housing, help determine what social media platforms might reach the most customers. And again, this is using Simply Analytics to grab this information. And once the ultimate audience is decided what to say, and using quotes from articles and experts gives authority to your postings. So you can use Master File Premier, which is a database of full text magazines, journals, and reference books, as well as photo, map, and flag files dating back to 1917. Titles include popular magazines such as Consumer Reports, Car and Driver, Country Living, Elle, Essence, Good Housekeeping, Harper's Bazaar, Popular Mechanics, and alongside an expansive list of scholarly and trade publications. And to keep up to date on local business news, don't wait for a little birdie to tell you unless you purchase that bird from my store. But you can use Charlotte Business Journal, which is Charlotte Business Journal has daily business news updates, dozens of popular topics from around the nation, and the latest networking for Charlotte and surrounding areas. And you can use Charlotte Observer, which is the largest public newspaper here in Charlotte. We also have access to LinkedIn Learning, which is an online educational site that includes over 3,000 courses in popular fields like web design, web development, IT, education, instruction, media production, and business. And We have Universal Class, which is also similar to LinkedIn Learning. It's an online education experience offering over 540 courses in subjects like entrepreneurship, technology, health, career assistance, and more. And instead of looking for individual customers, find where the herd hangs out. You have Gale Directory Library, which provides digital access to reference associations. And you have Encyclopedia of Associations also. And for more information and instruction on all of these databases, you can go to charlottemecklenburg.org and click on hours and locations to find a library branch nearest to you. Or you can click on events, and then on the left, select business development, and you can book a session with a librarian for business research. It's a one-on-one for you to come in and sit down with a librarian, or you can do a video call to sit down with the librarian to discuss anything that is business related or related to starting a business. And we've also got books, audiobooks, downloadable ebooks and e-audiobooks related to business, and videos and more that you can use with your library card. And to fill in the gaps of your business plan, find customers, have something new to say on social media, learn new methods, understand your client's industry, and succeed, feel free to visit us at cmlibrary.org or call 704-416-0101. And I want to thank SCORE for allowing Charlotte Mecklenburg Public Library to present here. And thank you all for attending, and thank you for your time. And I will turn it back over to SCORE.
Okay, well, thank you, Kenya, and really can't encourage everybody enough to utilize the resources of your, local library. It's super valuable, and it's, whether it is free because you're going to the one in your county, or you want to utilize the Mecklenburg library system because it has one additional resources, and you buy it for the $40 or $50 a year. It's definitely a well valued, well worth it investment. And again, want to invite you to please utilize the score.org website, again, from accounting templates, many different forms of business templates. So you can start building a business plan. Every business, whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit, needs a business plan. So, plan your work and work your plan.
Hey, Barbara,
Yeah.
I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you mid-sentence, but I am back and it looks like I'm stable, which is
Okay.
debatable always. But did you want me to continue on? I believe.
Sure. Go ahead, now that you're back.
Great.
And then we'll just end it after the legal part.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you for your understanding about technology issues. I'm certain it's you're not the only one that's ever experienced it. So as I was rambling on earlier, I'm not sure where I ended up mid-ramble, but there's a number of ways to get started in business. The easiest ways are sole proprietorship or partnership. They don't protect you from liability. And if that's a concern, you probably, most people today are considering LLCs. Very simple to get started, very simple to maintain. And I think you heard me brag probably that at the height of our business, we had 17 LLCs going at the same time, and it just took me a few hours to keep those up to speed every year. So you'll want to talk to your accountant and or your attorney regarding those decisions. There's government regulations. Surprise, surprise. You'll want to make sure that you are doing everything as legal as necessary. if you're hiring people, it becomes so much more complex and so much more important with the labor laws. One of the first things that we did with our business was create a HR handbook, which laid everything out and kept us out of some potential problems down the road. You want to make sure you're in compliance with the tax man. And there's a new thing called the Corporate Transparency Act, which is from the Department of Treasury. It's painless. It's just painful. If those two can be stated in the same sentence, meaning it doesn't take time at all. It just means one more thing that you got to do to make sure that you're legally established in the U.S. Your mentor can help you with that. I was looking at this slide this morning as I was preparing for the presentation and realized, believe it or not, that we had every single one of these insurance. Most people want to have an insurance broker because they can go and find insurance plans that make sense for your business. A broker can look at tens of different options. In addition, the SCORE does provide, through your mentor, a list of insurance providers that have kind of been vetted, if you will, and scrutinized. And that's a good way to get started as well. But all these type of insurance should be considered. You might not need all of them, but the more complex your business gets, likely the more you'll need all these. With a business plan, we won't be doing justice to a business plan in this section, but what we'll do is look at the tip of the iceberg. A business plan, to me, that and the finances are kind of the two areas that we get started with, because in my old days, I wrote down that a business plan is a roadmap, but then I realized that a business plan is really a GPS. Roadmaps are pretty stagnant. After a few years, they go out of style. A GPS is always updated. If you have a destination and you can write the steps of how to get there, write your goals, write your mission, there's a few key sections that create a business plan. It will be painful. It doesn't have to be as painful as maybe you think, but it should be painful, because to me, it's kind of like giving birth. And Lord knows, I watched my wife. It looked painful for her giving birth. The business plan really allows you to level set. It allows you to feel comfortable with what you're doing. It allows anyone that might be investing in you to feel comfortable. And when you follow your plan, it will keep you honest. It clarifies and codifies your vision. It should provide accountability to you. And as I mentioned, it's a primary tool for financing. I think strongly that, if you, depending on the complexity of your business, if you get in a normal business 12 to 15 pages, nicely written, maybe with a few appendix pages, you'll probably be covering all the basics. This does not do it justice, but you will be creating probably 8 to 10 pages where you're talking about the business. What are the products, the services, the operations, the marketing plan? I would strongly suggest to everybody they write that, even in the roughest draft version. If you have a mentor like me, that person will edit your business plan. I'm not sure if everybody will, but that's one of the things that I get my red pen out and have fun with. There are templates. There's a simple one. There's a more complex one. Score gives you everything you need to get started with that template. And once you've written that chunk, that 8 to 10 pages that really detail what you're trying to accomplish, then I think it's as easy as highlighting maybe the 5 or 6 paragraphs that really talk about your business, and that becomes your executive summary. We have so many people that do it the other way around, that go in and write the executive summary first, and then the rest of the business plan is just repeating that same stuff. There's incredible resources on the SCORE website, where if you just type in your search bar business plan, it will get you going, just like your mentor will. A business plan cannot be overstated. The acronym BAIL, BAIL, and then add another M, add another B in, excuse me. So BAIL is critical to your business. At some point or other, you're going to need a banker, whether that's just to get your business checking account or your business credit card, but most likely to talk about lending. A lawyer or an attorney, your accountant, your insurance agent or broker, and your business mentor. Those people you should feel like that is your team, that when you're surrounded by, especially up front, a good accountant and attorney, you're going to get started on the right foot. If you, to me, I got all these people, these relationships set up before I went into business, and you can lean on them, and you should lean on them, because you're going to be providing them business, providing them profits, and maybe referrals down the road. So that's your informal team that you can look to kickstart your business. Real quickly, now that we've gone through the seminar, you can give yourself that little test of where are you in the scale of things. Take a few minutes and look at the chart, which you're going to get sent to you, and fill in whether you think you have these things nailed or not. Some of the ideas in this 10-question test are, in the market identification, I know who my potential buyers are. Well, if you do, check it. I have a clear value proposition to my potential buyers. If you do, check it. I would think the more checks you have, the more ready you are to go into business. The less checks, the more you're going to be in that second bucket we talked about at the beginning, and you're going to say, let me just go a little slower. Let me get my act together. And if you're one of the few people that have dropped out of this session, because maybe you said, this is not for me, then I think we know where you are. Probably the rest of the folks that have stuck around probably are looking to go into business. I will say that besides my religion and my family, the years of me being in business for myself were the most fulfilling, most challenging, and most fulfilling, because I did it. And what a great feeling to know that you don't have to be knocking on doors saying, will you hire me? But instead say, I don't need someone to hire me. I can be in business for myself. What a great feeling. Write a vision statement. Vision statement could be that old elevator speech. That is, if you're stuck in an elevator for a few minutes with somebody, be able to say what you're trying to accomplish very briefly to get the other person excited, whether that's a potential investor, a potential customer, client, etc. Now what? Well, we feel strongly, I know you had heard it from Barb, that we feel strongly that the more you can start working with a mentor, the better you might feel. If nothing else, it'll allow you to bounce ideas off. I spoke to a client this morning who actually went into her own franchise business and launched it about 6 weeks ago. And she just wanted to get on the phone this morning and just chat. She didn't have an agenda. She just said, there's a lot of things coming at me. I have a lot of interest and I just wanted to talk to you. So 20 minutes later, we hung up and she said, I feel better now. And I did too. I felt good for her. Again, go to the SCORE website and get going. We will open this up. I know we have time for those that are interested and willing to stay on. We'd be happy to entertain any additional questions. I'll ask Barbara to field those and take it from there.
Yes. It looks like you've answered everybody's question going through, going through the presentation. So, I'm not seeing anything new.
So we give a minute or two just in case. I see the the more button has a few things.
Oh, wait, here's one from Dustin. Can you speak more to the fulfillment, missing out on valuable family time working?
Yeah. Oh my Lord. There's a trade-off. I'll just speak from the cuff. There's the personal fulfillment of creating something. In my case, there was a price to pay. I did miss critical family time. On the other hand, I got fairly cheap labor. 3 of our kids when they got a little older. But I was able to teach my kids some valuable lessons. They saw me also as a hard worker, an ethical guy, an honest guy. Would I go back and change things? No, not from the macro sense. From the micro sense, I would have been quicker to delegate more things and to put some limits to what I would have done. My children now see the father that I probably could have been with my grandchild. That I don't live with that as a regret, but I think that you have to go into business realizing that there's going to be some trade-offs. I would hope it wouldn't be quite as difficult as it was for me. Maybe your business is not going to be quite as complex or all-consuming. Maybe it'll be something where you can actually turn the lights off 2 days a week, 1 day a week. But just being honest, make that a strong consideration.
Very nice, nicely said. Yeah, Dustin, I have a 6.5-year-old boy and valuable time with him, but would be so cool for him to see his daddy work hard and be fulfilled and build something. That's certainly something that you spoke to.
Yeah, and if you're lucky, if the stars align, you can create the beginning of generational wealth too. I it's a really interesting conversation, and just definitely think about, when here's my idea of life. You have an idea, you make a list of pros and cons, you sleep on it, and then the next day you throw that list away, and then you go with your gut. Um, Put that on your list, and if that outweighs it, then maybe you don't discount your dream, but maybe you curtail the dream so that you can still live it, but maybe where you can find that better balance. Those years are fleeting.
Lauren's having trouble accessing a mentor through the website, but alternately, Lauren, I mean, somebody could walk you through it. Depends which city you're in. I know our Charlotte, our office is not staffed, so we get voicemail messages a day or two later, a couple days a week. If you're in another chapter area, you could try calling them directly, but as far as I know, it's filling out the form and then hitting submit. So if you're getting some sort of error message, it might just be a temporary problem. And if you filled it out or went to submit it again in maybe an hour, it would work. Sorry about that.
Technology, we experienced that earlier.
Yep. Can you please tell me the process to request the SCORE mentor? Yes, again, you can simply go to score.org and it will ask you to put in your zip code. But there's also a button that says request a mentor. And you click on that, and then there's a form you can fill out. And then the people, we call them intake folks, who take all the requests, and then they match the request up with the mentors in that particular chapter. You can also go to the SCORE website, and there is a directory of mentors. So you can look at mentors all around the country in specific, fields. So you might try that as well. Not all mentors accept clients from out of their local area for a variety of reasons, but that doesn't mean you can't try. So thank you for starting that process, Henry.
Before we bid adieu, and I said these 10 words at one of the Simple Steps sessions about 2 or 3 ago, and it really struck a nerve with some of the people in a positive way. And I usually say it when we wrap up, so if there's any questions, we can still have them. But I had one person one day say, "What's your business philosophy?" And I slept on it, and came up with these 10 words. It's dream big, plan smart, work hard, shoot straight, and pray daily. And that just to me is kind of like my life lesson. And it's the way that I did business. And I think if you listen to that and you buy into it, and that's how you're wired. Remember that chart where after 5 years, 50-50, I think you're gonna definitely change the odds.
And I put in the chat earlier where you can find a copy of this recording probably tomorrow or the next day on our YouTube channel. So you can just go to YouTube and go to SCORE Mentors Charlotte, and you will see a number of Simple Steps recordings there from this year. But if you want this one in particular, because Larry is so awesome, just give us a day or two to get it up, because it's not, we can't get downloaded from Zoom that fast and get it up in a couple of hours. So it may take a day, but that's where you can go to our YouTube channel, Score Mentor Charlotte.
And a big shout out to Barbara. Barbara is, if you missed it or you didn't hear it right, she is the president of the Charlotte chapter and has been a great leader for our team. Whenever you have a need or you want a pat on the back or a nice, if you do something wrong, you'll get a very pleasant scolding. I've only gotten one of those, but it didn't hurt. I can't thank her enough. You're not going to probably see her on too many of these presentations. She's got a lot of balls that she's juggling, but really appreciate her leadership and appreciate the help this afternoon. I think I gave her, maybe 24 hours notice that I didn't have a class manager.
That's okay. And thank you, Kenya. Great having the library as a partner with SCORE. So have a good afternoon.
Thanks for attending. Bye now.
Bye.